What a week for AI. Seriously, it feels like we just watched the future accelerate at an unbelievable speed, only to see it crash head-on into the hard limits of the real world. This is the story of that collision.
I mean, just look at the headlines as of January 19th, 2026. They paint this wild picture of chaos. You've got California's Attorney General slapping a cease and desist letter on Elon Musk's XAI over its image tool Grok.
And then, at the very same time, you have Mark Zuckerberg basically re-architecting Meta from the ground up, announcing a brand new Superintelligence Lab. The ambition here is just completely off the charts.
Meanwhile, the global pressure cooker is getting turned way up. The CEO of Google DeepMind is now on record saying China's AI is just months, not years, behind the West. Wow, that is a massive shift in how we see the AI race.
But here's the catch. All of this incredible digital progress, it's hitting a very real, very physical wall. You know what the single biggest problem facing the industry is, according to Google? The power grid. Suddenly, energy is the thing holding everything back.
So how in the world do we make sense of this incredible collision? Well, we're going to break it down. We'll look at the great AI acceleration, the governance gauntlet everyone's running, the new arms race, what happens when we hit physical limits, how agents are finally getting to work in our lives, and what this all means for our AI future.
Okay, first things first, let's talk about the velocity, the pure speed of it all. This isn't just steady progress. No, this is an all-out, ferocious sprint for the future.
Just look at Meta. This week, Mark Zuckerberg didn't just announce a new product, he pretty much refounded the entire company around AI. He's doubling down on smart glasses, yanking resources from the metaverse over to AI wearables, and get this, signing 20-year deals for nuclear power. All of this is aimed at one thing, a new Superintelligence Lab to build what comes next.
And over at Google, the pressure is just as insane. The CEO of DeepMind is talking with Google's CEO every single day, trying to push their Gemini model absolutely everywhere. We're talking Gmail, Photos, and even a massive multi-billion-dollar deal to power Apple's Siri. They're calling it personal intelligence, which is really just a fancy way of saying they want to weave AI into the very fabric of your life.
But, moving this fast, it has consequences. And this week, that breakneck speed collided with reality in a huge safety crisis. And believe me, regulators are watching.
So, this was the defense from Elon Musk. It came right after reports that his AI tool Grok was being used to create sexually explicit deepfakes of real people, including minors, by basically letting users undress them in photos.
The fallout was immediate, and it was global. First, a lawsuit from an influencer, then a cease and desist from California giving them just 5 days to respond, and now formal investigations have been launched by regulators in the UK, Canada, and Japan. The heat is coming from every direction.
And what's so fascinating is that this whole crisis is putting a really old internet law, Section 230, right under the microscope. See, that law basically says platforms aren't responsible for what their users post. But regulators are now asking a brand new question. What if your AI tool actually helps create the bad stuff? Are you still just a neutral platform then? That is the test.
Now, the Grok incident, that didn't just happen in a vacuum. It's really a symptom of a much, much larger competition that's raging between nations and the biggest corporations on the planet.
On the world stage, that race is getting incredibly tight. DeepMind's CEO thinks China is just months behind in capability. But here's the twist. China's own experts say their biggest hurdle is hardware, mostly because of US export controls on those super advanced chips. So you have this fascinating dynamic where the software gap is closing, but the hardware gap is a real problem.
And in the corporate world, it's an absolute feeding frenzy. You've got OpenAI signing $10 billion deals for custom chips. Anthropic is poaching top safety experts from its rivals and sending shivers through the market with new tools for sensitive industries like healthcare. All while Meta and Google are pushing for total dominance. Billions are flying around, and everybody is desperately trying to build a castle with a moat that no one else can cross.
But here's the thing. This whole digital arms race is slamming right into a physical ceiling. Turns out, you can't just run an AI revolution on code. It needs real power, real infrastructure, and real people.
Demis Hassabis from DeepMind he nailed it with this quote.
Energy will be synonymous with intelligence. What he's saying is, as AI gets smarter, the thing holding it back isn't just better chips or fancier algorithms. It's the raw, brute force energy you need to power the whole thing. Intelligence, it turns out, is incredibly thirsty for power.
And you can see this bottleneck playing out right now. In the US, it can take up to a decade just to get a new data center plugged into the power grid. So to get around that, companies like Meta and xAI are making these huge, long-term bets on things like nuclear power. But it's not just a power problem. The CEO of Ford is warning that the US is short hundreds of thousands of construction and factory workers, the very people you need to build these new AI factories.
Okay, so after all that high-level, high-stakes conflict, let's bring it back down to earth. Back to you. How is this stuff actually going to start showing up in our day-to-day lives? Well, the key word you're going to hear a lot more is agents.
We're moving beyond the AIs that just talk to you. Now we're getting AIs that can actually do things for you. These are agentic systems. They can use tools, manage complex tasks, and work towards a goal you give them. Think of it this way. They're not just talkers anymore, they're becoming doers.
So check this out. A grocery store in Australia called Woolworths is upgrading its chatbot, Olive. Soon, you'll be able to give it a handwritten recipe, and it'll figure out a meal plan, create your shopping list, apply all your loyalty discounts, and then put every single item right into your online cart. The only thing left for you to do is click buy. That's a real-world agent getting to work.
So, where does all this leave us? This incredibly chaotic week, packed with both breakthroughs and backlashes, really lays bare the central tension of our time. You know, AI isn't some inevitable force of nature that's just happening to us. No way. Every crisis like the one at Grok, every massive investment in nuclear power, every new feature, these are all the results of choices, human choices, being made right now in boardrooms and government offices all over the world.
And that really brings us to the final and most important question of all. It's obvious we're building this stuff faster than at any point in human history. But are we building it wiser? The real test isn't just about what this technology can do, but what we, all of us, decide we want it to become. Thanks for joining me.